going on, everybody? My name is Northy, and today the video for the round 18 preview is here. It is a little late into the night, so probably uploaded once the game has started tonight. So Kildare versus the Dogs. However, it's a Friday night game. Finally, a Friday night game to start off the week. It's good. It means we can get our tips done on the site. I won't be waiting so long. Things will be good. But today should be a really fun one, as I think the team is looking pretty strong and a few interesting things to point out, especially in top team right now, because star powers, it's very hard for me to find a change in star powers. However, there is one big one that may happen very soon. Nonetheless, let's get into the episode. We got a star powers first, and the one change that we have made probably should have been made last week. However, I'm making the switch because I think it's now Noah Anderson's time to really show me why he should be double points. I've got him in there, future double points. I do have Luke Jackson now, as you guys remember. He is playing Rock, but Max Gawn is in there tonight. So there's a chance that he ends up moving and getting back into that forward line without getting all those hit outs. They may even move it and change it around before the game even starts. Because I believe Max Gawn is listed as centre half forward and Luke Jackson is listed as Ruckman. But that could switch very quickly. Nonetheless, I've got myself a Noah Anderson in there. Obviously, his big week last week, definitely one to be talking about. Hopefully he keeps that form up, and now that he knows he can do it, he continues to do it, and hopefully gives us a good 100-point week. But we got him, we got Luke Parker now as a regular silver, and I'm still confident with that pick. He's been consistently decent, around the 60 to 80. Obviously, we want him more towards the 80 side, but 80 points, I feel like, compared to the rest of the players we've got up in place, could definitely be switched up for a higher scoring player. Bonds has been a little disappointing. Again, he remains that type of player where he gets all his stats in the second half. However, if his first half is really poor, it doesn't matter how many disposals or whatever he gets in the second half. It's going to be a poor performance. He could have a 20 disposal half, but if he got 6 in the first half, that's still not a great game. Overall, Bontempelli has just had a rough year trying to get into form. He's had some games where he looks really good, but again, he's coming in from that forward line. He's been sharing a lot of the load with Jack McRae, Bailey Smith when he's been in, Tom Liberatore, and overall, everyone's kind of struggled to regain their, composure and how well they play. It's really strange, man. I don't know how to describe the Dogs this year. Obviously, disappointing is one word, but there's many other words to describe individual performances on the team. We also got Josh Kelly in the super position. I haven't really had a reason to change him up yet. Maybe soon we'll have a reason, who knows. But at the moment, there's no real player up against Josh Kelly. I'm looking at all these players, and Tom Mitchell every now and then can do well. Matt Rowell finds his form every now and then. Heaney is a very on and off player, and Taylor Adams is out this week. So realistically, it comes down to Josh Kelly, and Josh Kelly at the moment has been struggling to get those hundreds like he was at the start of the year. Again, it's going to come down to one of these three players finding the form. We've got 3 chances at either Bontempelli, Kelly, or Anderson all getting 100-point performances. And I think if we can start at that, it sets us up well for the week. So hopefully it happens tonight with Bonds, and we don't have to worry about it. But the players like Amon, who we know are better than what they've shown us, need to step up. I've been thinking about Shea, but I think Amon off that wing is a bit more important. Shea may not be needed as much. I'm not too sure. Obviously against North, they very much could have an absolute ripper game. However, I've found a lot that often teams don't have ripper games individually against North Melbourne. As a team, they all kind of work and able to work off each other. They all have solid games. So realistically, I don't think there's any wrong picks for Richmond. However, I don't think they're going to be the standout pick for the week. Maybe I'm wrong and Shea goes off for 120. But I'm hoping that picking Amon and him coming off the wing, like he did a few weeks ago, I think it was against Gold Coast. He had an awesome week one week with 26 disposals, 10 marks, 10 tackles. I want him to try and find something similar to that again. I know a lot of people use him as their double points players, but I like the double points players I've got at the moment. And I've got a Callum Mills, so if Bonds doesn't work this week, Callum Mills will probably be the switch out next week. But obviously, we just sit outside the top 50 for last week, and we just one spot outside the top 5. For star powers, and I believe we did eventually at some point get out of the top 10, so the fact that we've managed to recover really well ever since that horrific week, if we all remember that one, where we dropped outside the top 10, we recovered quite nicely, and so hopefully we can finish within the top 5 by the end of the season. If we keep going the way we're going, we probably will. But it'll take another prize card week, I think, to get there. It'll take another one, but we go over to top team this week. two Adelaide players. Definitely didn't expect it. However, I had a look at who they're playing, and I'm almost certain in what I'm thinking about right now. I don't think they're up against Hawthorn. They were up against Hawthorn last week. They're up against Collingwood, and the reason I've got Riley O'Brien in there in the ruck is because he is up against Darcy Cameron, and Darcy Cameron has been quite impressive over the last few weeks. I watched the Collingwood North game, and Darcy was really, really important to Collingwood in that game. However, in terms of ruckman status, not too many great ruckmen would probably have a real problem with Darcy Cameron. Todd Goldstein last week, even though he's an absolutely ripper player in my mind, I love him to bits, and he ended up winning last week against Darcy Cameron. Could be just because North needed him more than most other ruckmen, but Riley O'Brien, I think, has a chance to explode here, definitely with a lot of hit-outs. He just needs to get his disposals up again. I think the weeks where he does get disposals is awesome. Like you can see here, 13 disposals is decent. It's not anything great, but he can have near 30 disposal weeks. It can be quite crazy if Riley O'Brien can get involved in the hand pass chains and even just with the intercept marks. If we can get some of that from him, that'll be amazing. But Rory Laird is the one that's gone in for the midfield. He remains one that just consistently finds himself on the ball, getting that ball moving, and 42 disposals last week is awesome. I just don't know who at the moment could beat him. I'm trying to think of any midfielders, and the only one I can think of is Jaden Short, but obviously he's a backman. And again, like I said, Richmond players, or mainly players against North Melbourne, I think Geelong so far, off the top of my head, has been the only exception. Maybe Adelaide. The only two exceptions really were Geelong and Adelaide. But most teams seem to have well-rounded games together rather than amazing individual performances like Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins had and Tex Walker had against North Melbourne. It doesn't happen as often. Usually teams all band together to beat North Melbourne, unfortunately. So it does suck, but Rory Laird once again has a chance to explode this week, and I'm not sure whether he'll be the best, but I think he is a very, very consistent pick at the moment for over 100 points. You can see here, he averages 103. He's a very, very safe option. Is he the highest for the season? Yes, he is. And I think he's probably the safest option at the moment. So I'm really enjoying putting him in there every now and then. You would think that I go back to Sicily, but we're going to stick with Sinclair. I think it's definitely a type of week where Sinclair can be really important off that half-back line for St Kilda. Sicily is always important for him. And you can see here the 13 marks last week shows why, but Sinclair can do much of the same thing. I think up against an extremely interesting opponent in the Dogs, I think there's a chance I can do it. I think there really is. Hopefully the spacing can work out well and Sinclair can be used very, very often. But nonetheless, I'm putting my faith in him again. He's not a bad player. It's just unfortunate last week our usual player ended up being the best one for the week. And forwards, I really don't know who else to pick. I can't pick Heaney because Heaney's too, inconsistent. And then you look here, Bonds had 19 disposals and 1 goal and still managed 80 points. This is the stuff I'm talking about. Bonds and Pelly, even in his worst games, can do really well, despite what the stats say. But the problem is he's having too many poor games. It's really frustrating to watch. I just need him to step up tonight against the Saints. If he doesn't, I'll have to look for a change, but it's very scary at the moment. But we are in the top 10 still for top 4. I'm not sure if there's any major prizes for being in the top 10 or top 5 of top 4, but nonetheless, we're going to aim for top 5 in this game mode, and we're well on our way to getting there. If we can get a top 10 finish in this one, I'll be pretty happy. Shout out H12K20. I believe that is a person who commented on my review about finishing in the top 10 in 2 different game modes. I'll check top 18 real quick. No, it would have been Star Powers then, but our top 18 here. Now, a few notable changes. Lockie Whitfield is out and Jake Lloyd is in. Jake Lloyd is part of Sydney, and obviously Sydney are playing Freo. So Sydney versus Freo is going to be a very, very fun game to watch, but other than that, we've got the usuals from there. We've got Dawson, who's been having some pretty good games this season. Not too good last week, but the week before, amazing from him. Sicily remains great. Sinclair remains great. Vlosten was a poor choice, but only because he was on suspension, and I had completely forgotten about it. So he's back in. He is up against North, but he's still very important, and he doesn't really play as a backman, more the intercepting role. And I really like that about Vlosten. He's good to put in there. Short may have a better week, but I can't trust Short as much because Short, he doesn't really get involved in the handball chains all that often. He's usually the outlet guy, and usually the outlet guys are take the handball, and then make the kick. So it's not even the mark, it's not even a tackle, it's just the one kick, the disposal, most of the time. So even though he's on the ball and can be impactful in a game, he doesn't get the statistics that you're looking for in a game mode like this. So Boston, I think, is a better choice. He lays more tackles, or most of the time. Sometimes Short just has a much better game, but he gets a lot more marks, that's for sure. So it'll be nice to see whether Boston continues that against North Melbourne. Very risky putting a backman in against North Melbourne. It's going to be very strange. But at the moment, my biggest struggles are in the midfield. I think midfield are some of the toughest roles to fill this year. Last year, there were some pretty known ones. Like McRae got used very, very often. Off the top of my head, that's all I can remember. But last year, a lot of, stuck in midfielders. People that everyone knew were going to perform well. But this time around, don't know, honestly. We've chucked in Brayshaw because Brayshaw could have a game. I don't know. It's hard to tell when he's going to go off. There's some games where he can be held to barely anything. You can see here 10 tackles, 6 marks. Against Sydney, it's going to be really important he's getting those. So there's a chance. And obviously, because tackles are always they always seem to be the big thing for Callum Mills. He gets put in the back line every now and then, so he gets his marks there. But he's just got so much pressure. He is a rough nut. He is the definition of a rough nut. The dude is always getting in there and trying to make it very difficult for the opponent. You can see there's 16 tackles, man. That's too much. That's way too much. But Brayshaw and Mills are my two entries. McRae, now that I've taken him out, will probably have a night where he gets 9 tackles and 7 marks, so I can't wait for that. Lockie Neal off his disappointing week. I basically just told myself, he's had such a poor week, there's no way he does it again. But watch as he does it again. I guarantee you it'll happen. I nearly went with Cornelio. I wanted to go with Cornelio really badly. I had just a hunch. I just had a hunch that maybe Cornelio would have another good week. He's been playing quite consistently for a lot of the year and had an under the radar year almost. But Jack Steele, I think, has been the most consistent player when he plays for me. He's always getting marks and tackles. He's just a general leader and obviously the captain, if I'm correct, of the St Kilda Saints. And he's just always leading by example. So usually you expect it with those high 100 performances. So that's my midfield. I'm hoping things go to plan. Brayshaw is always a coin flip. You can never tell. Mills often does have good games, but has the games where he's just not used as often, especially in the ones where it almost feels as if they don't really care about him. They're super cool with Warner and Papley and Heaney and all those others taking over. It's really strange, but nonetheless, Mills can go off. He's had those games where just ridiculous stat lines. But we're going over our forward line now. Luke Jackson remains in. Obviously, him being in the ruck would help him. If he can kick a goal or so, that'd be even better. They're up against Port Adelaide, and they don't have many ruck options or strong ruck options, except for their main ruck, I'd imagine. But Luke Jackson can definitely be very, very good in there. Shea Bolton has made his appearance in our side, though, as a potential midfield forward up against North Melbourne. I thought, why not? Chuck him in. He can definitely have great games and get involved. Bailey Smith returns tonight. He's coming off the half-forward flank. Always good to chuck him in there, see whether he can do well. Maybe people chuck him in the Team Star Powers now that he returns for the future category. But I don't know, Noah Anderson, Luke Jackson, they may give him a run for his money. May not be smart to put him in just straight away. Could be a bit of a, work into role. But I'd like to see Bailey Smith have a good night. Dylan Moore had a fantastic week. So glad I had him in last week. Hopefully can have another good one. Harry Himmelberg, as I've mentioned a lot throughout the season, is now coming out of that back line. It just gets a lot more involved, which is great to see when you need a forward who can get a lot of marks and just points in general and not relying on goals. Pretty much the Jack Zeeble role of last year. Jack Zeeble, I almost always put in my forward line because he just get marks and kick the ball around, and he just get those little almost useless disposals, and it really helped the points. But other than that, Bontempelli, we talked about before, just need a good game from him. Just need one really good game from him, and week set. 100%. I'm just praying things go well for this team. I need a lot of risks to turn out right for us. Riley O'Brien being in there up against Collingwood hopefully goes well. Our top 4 having 2 Adelaide players. Not the brightest team, but 2 of the brightest players in those statistics. Let's hope it all goes well. We finished 112th last week, not even 1400. Let's set a goal. We're going to aim for 1450 at the very least. 1450. I think if we can get there, it gives us a chance of getting back into the top 10. Because you can see, that's the highest rank, I think, in a very, very long time for top 10. Rank 13 is definitely not where we want to be, especially in a game mode where I'm almost certain there'd be some like good prizes for. So it's going to be really important we do the right things here this week and hopefully get the outcome that we are really looking for. But we go over to our tips. I can change, but you can see here, I've got them in. I've got Geelong over Carlton, Hawthorn over West Coast. I really thought about West Coast, but it's at Hawthorn, so I held off on it. Collingwood over Adelaide, I think should happen, but Collingwood, you can never tell. Melbourne versus Port, I've gone Melbourne. If it was at Adelaide, I probably would have picked Port. I've gone Richmond over North, Gold Coast over Essendon, but Essendon, I cannot tell anymore. It's really strange. It's like that talent just clicked in. I've gone Brisbane over GWS. GWS can be a good opponent sometimes, but Brisbane at their usual rate could beat GWS in any state. I've gone Dogs tonight, which could be a poor pick. I think St Kilda probably have the better chance. However, I just thought Dogs bringing in some extra talent. I think although Norton is out, there's definitely still some replacements in there to help out. Although Norton is that safe pair of hands inside, they do usually put Bonts in there. So I'm not sure who will be Norton's main replacement. Could be the likes of Shaki, Bruce. Josh Bruce returns tonight. Funny as it is against his old side in St Kilda. So it'll be an interesting one, but hopefully he is repaired from his ACL quite nicely, and it'll be good to see a strong performance from him. And I've gone with Freo because honestly, when Sydney are at their best, it could go Sydney's way. However, it is at Freo, so there's a good chance that Freo will take it quite convincingly. So that is who I've got for my tips this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and be sure to join the channel as a member if you are enjoying all the content showing up at the moment. Your name will appear across the screen, as you may have saw earlier in this video. So hopefully that'll be an incentive if you guys do want to support the channel and enjoy the content here. So thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all hopefully for a fun-filled weekend full of Fall Guys and football action. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.